from 8 p.m. tonight, a curfew will be implemented. So there will be a curfew across metropolitan Melbourne from 8 p.m. this evening, and it will run from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. each and every day. And the only reason to be out of your home between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. is to get care, to give care. We can no longer have people visiting others. We can no longer have people simply out and about for no good reason whatsoever.
I've been working on implementing all of the wonderful enemies that Hayley has been doing up over the past however many months, 6 months or something, that all these enemies have been done. I've actually been working on putting them into the game because, well, I've been doing other sorts of things, working on menus and AI and all this sort of pathfinding and all this stuff that does need doing, but I've now got a stack of enemies like this. I've got beetles that aren't really enemies, but they're sort of ambient creatures and crabs, and I've got the crow you can summon, I've got the fish dude, the other fish dude, the ghosty guy, the thing with no legs, the pied, the Skaven looking fella who's one of my favourites, the Schneck, and, of course, wonderful Zorlost. Now, I've got all of those things, they're all where all the animations are done, like all of them, but they're not in the game yet, and so I've been going through and slowly putting them in the game. At the moment, I've got the chain arm fellow that some might remember. Let me see if I can just start the game up and actually find him. But yeah, this is kind of blown out of control, just exactly how many enemies there are to add. Thankfully, the code that I've got in place for putting enemies in is pretty modular and relatively quick to add them, but even still, just importing all the sprites into Game Maker and setting up bounding block sizes and all that sort of junk takes longer than you kind of expect it to be honest, because you gotta sit there and go through dialogue boxes again and again and again. There's no real easy way to sort of bulk import something and actually have it work. Alright, here we go. So let me see if I can find the chain fella. He's around here somewhere. There's a couple of them. Let me thin this crowd out a little bit. There we go, there's one of them up. So he's kind of terrifying. He has these really quick attacks where he just goes bang, 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 bang. Just like that, and he tends to wear you down pretty quick. He probably won't be present in this actual level. He's going to be in one of the later ones. But yeah, he's in, and now I've just got to keep going and put the rest in, which, I mean, optimistically, you could probably get like 2 in a day, and that's even with the sort of quicker method for doing everything. But hey, that's a lot faster than it was on Bannerman. And that's the reason Bannerman had like 8 enemies all up, as opposed to the, 20 or 30 that we're going to end up having in this, so.
Alright, so last time I was sitting in this chair talking to you guys, I've really just been animating things. So I've just done a bunch more enemies, and one of them is probably not going to be an enemy. One of them will probably be something that the player will be able to summon. But yeah, just been animating some more stuff. I did something boring too that I won't even put on the screen, which was just sort out the objects for the water level. name them all correctly, make sure the intact version and the broken version had that nice little animation, and they're ready to be exported now, but that's very dull. But I'll show you the enemies and that I've done. So there is this gargoyle kind of thing. Still waiting on names for these, but yeah. Oh, that's the wrong way, but there we go. I quite like the color scheme for this one, but again, we don't know whether it's going to work in game or not, especially with the slight flying kind of animation that it has. So just have to put it in game and see if that one works, basically.
Yeah, do you want to explain what the problem is with the flying thing?
Yeah, so it's mainly so this is its like walk or like go forward animation, basically. If this gets interrupted by another animation, it looks quite janky because it depends on where the wings are positioned.
So one possible solution of that would be on my side, where I separate the wings and to the body and animate the wings independently and attach them to the body at a certain point, but that's probably going to be a pain in the ass, so...
Yeah, so we'll just have to kind of put it in game and see how it looks.
Yeah.
See if it's going to be any good.
And then fix it when it doesn't work.
Yep. This next one, it's just going to play a little animation loop there for you. It's like a ghost. It's on a nice blue background there, because if I have it on a transparent background, you won't even be able to see the enemy. So, yeah, that's just a ghost thing. I really like that attack, how it kind of like throws its head at you. That's kind of cool. And it's just going to appear and disappear. Now this one's probably up on the list for favorite enemy animations at the moment. So this rat, I think I'm gonna call him Templeton. Yeah, rat with a gun.
He's great. He's gonna snipe you.
I love his walk animation. Looks so sneaky, and his little reload there.
Yeah, it's great.
And last one. So you guys would have seen all of these in one of the last videos we did. I was basically like, here are some still images that I need to turn into animation. So now they're kind of all animated. Last one is this crow. So this one, the player will probably be able to summon. So he's got a few cute animations. He hops. He attacks. Now, the attack needs fixing because if you notice, the sprite actually kind of shrinks a little bit. So I'll show you again. So that needs fixing, but nearly done. Cause as well. His idle animation is my favorite animation. So, look, the crow was particularly hard to do because I really like birds. I'm a bit of a bird watcher. So, like, in my brain, I know how birds move, but it's very hard getting that down onto, like, the actual animation. Like the gargoyle and the rat and stuff, they don't have any particular movement kind of, like, things in real life. You just make that up and you're like, yeah, that looks kind of like that. Whereas with doing the crow, I'm like, that's not how crows walk, or that's not how crows hop. So I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos in super slow motion to try and get it right. So I'm pretty happy with it. It's not spot on, but it's pretty good. Alright, so what I'll be working on next is well, fixing that crow attack animation so the sprite doesn't shrink and look weird. But what I'll be working on next is doing the objects for the sand level. So something that I learned when we did the water level objects, we were like, oh, well, we don't really know what the tiles are going to look like, but let's just start work on the objects. And that's a really dumb idea because then I had to go back like 3 times and alter the objects that were going in the level, because when you change the tile colors, the objects that you put on them, they can look crappy if you don't pick the right colors for the objects then. So because we have the sand level tiles locked in, I can go ahead and do the objects for that now. because I have a base to put them on and test them to make sure the colours look right, to make sure they don't blend in too much or look too samey to the actual level tiles. So that's what I will be doing next. Probably going to stop on the enemies for a while so Mike can chuck them all in game. We'll see if they work or if some of them maybe need to be retweaked. We'll see. Yeah.
Okay, what have I done? I have done a bit of work on menus, which is my least favourite topic ever. I hate doing menus. They're so tedious. Like, doing any sort of UI element to me is so boring. But you can pause the game at the moment. You can even unpause it. And then you can pause it again. Wow, isn't that amazing? Yeah, these other options in here, you can enter into them, but there's nothing in there at the moment. But everything's kind of set up for it, so that you will be able to adjust your audio and, you know, turn off bloom effects and all that sort of jazz, You know how menus work. You know what they do.
Did you have any problems with the menus?
Oh, yeah, just a small issue. That took about, like, I don't know, I feel like it was about 3 weeks of fucking around. When exiting back to the main menu, I had some ridiculous, so just doing what I did there, so just going from in the game, quitting out to the main menu, I had some ridiculous issue where most things on the main menu would continue to render, but some things didn't. So, for example, the ship in the background wouldn't render, but the actual menu would, and the menu still functioned. and I was just like, okay, why? It turned out that I did some weird ass shit with some other bloody function somewhere in the game. I was doing something weird with the actual screen buffer when I think it's actually the bloom effect that I've got on. There's a sort of mild bloom over everything, especially, bright objects, how bloom works. I was doing some weird shit with the screen buffer at this point, and it looks like I was freeing it, but I wasn't totally freeing it every frame, so that when you paused, and the game actually paused in the background, you also paused the freeing of the buffer, and then when exiting back, I ended up with like half a draw buffer instead of the full thing. Anyway, it's fixed. I'm like, what the... And yeah, that was like weeks of me just sitting here screaming at the computer and getting no progress done because I have no idea what's going on. But it works now. It works. You can do things. So, you can even quit the game totally. So, this menu this menu problem has basically thrown me totally off track, and half the other things I was doing at the time, I don't know where I was up to with them because it took so long to figure out exactly what I had screwed up. Let me just find the trapdoor. This will take a sec. Hey, there it is. Alright, let's see if it works. Oh!
Pretty.
And then it'll have all your stats here. And, next level complete. The next level is the randomly generated name here. The Depths of Conundrum. And then you go down to the next level. And yes, at the moment it does nothing. You sit here and you go. The stat tracking is all in, I think. Mostly in. Tracks things like damage dealt, damage received, how many attacks you dodged is one, and a bunch of other stuff. And that will all feed into what the god will do in the next level, because if you've been having a hard time of it in that level and you sort of barely scrape through, then perhaps the next level he might go a little bit easier on you. Yeah, that sort of thing. If you've been just dodging attacks willy-nilly, then you might swap out some of the enemies for ones that have harder attacks to dodge and kind of dick with you a little bit. Because we want the game to sort of have that dynamic sort of difficulty system to it, where he's always kind of keeping it fresh but not making it impossible. But yeah, yeah. Still more to do. It's never.
This episode of Just Make Game presented in Batesy Vision.
Major funding for this episode of Just Make Game was provided by Vin Hill, Tyler Heil, Roman Kovalev, Philip Sparks, Max Windsor, Jono, Jason Tom Lee, Ivan Makarovich, Jin Yang, Evan N, Connor Bowen, Charlie Harper, Ben Kersnowski, Batesy, Alan Pask, and viewers like you.
Alright, well, that's what we've been doing. Progress has been pretty slow because of the whole COVID thing. This is happening everywhere, everyone's the same. I'm sure you're the same at home. You originally thought, oh, we're going to get so much done that we're all locked at home, but as soon as you are, you don't do anything. But we're trying to soldier on as best we can, and I'll catch you again next month for another video where we've hopefully got a bit more done for you. See ya!
As best we can tell, people will die because the pub is shut. That's not appropriate. I can't be any clearer than that. That's what's most important. You can have all your mates round to home and get on the beers. All it will do is spread beers. We had a case last week.